بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اليوم نكمل الفيلاريا نيماتود. ما تعرفون قسمناه إلى 3 أقسام: الليمفاتيك فيلارياسيس and subcutaneous filariasis and body cavity filariasis. وبدينا بالليمفاتيك فيلارياسيس وحكينا عن الوتشيريريا بنكروفتي. اليوم نكمل عندنا البروجي ملالي اللي هي geographical distribution in the India, Indonesia, Philippines, فيتنام، تشاينا، ساوث كوريا، جابان. هاي المناطق الموجودة بيها. المورفولوجي اوف بروجي ملالي. الادلت worm of the بروجي ملالي generally similar to the Wuchereria bancrofti, but it's smaller in size. The life cycle similar to the life cycle of the Wuchereria bancrofti, but the intermediate host of the Bruji Malali is the Anopheles and the AIDS. Pathogenesis and the clinical picture and the laboratory diagnosis and the treatment are similar to Wuchereria bancrofti. النوع الثاني هي البروجي تيموري, found mainly in the Timur and in the Indonesia. The vector of the بروجي تيموري هي الأنوفيلس. The definitive host هو human being. There is no animal reservoir is known. The macrofilaria for بروجي تيموري is larger than the microfilaria of the بروجي ملالي. The lesion produced by the بروجي تيموري is milder than those of the Wuchereria bancrofti and the ملالي. نجي على النوع الثاني مثل ما حكينا هي اللي subcutaneous filariasis. كملنا اللي lymphatic filariasis قلنا هي الوتشيريريا bancrofti والبروجي ملالي وبروجي تيموري. نجي على النوع الثاني اللي هي subcutaneous filariasis واللي هي اللوا. common name called African eye worm cause luiasis or calibar swelling. Lua endemic area in the West and Central Africa. More than أكثر من 10 ملايين إنسان will be infected by this lua, this parasite. The morphology of the lua, the adult worm, is thin, transparent, measurement about من 3 إلى 7 سنتيمتر in length. The habitat of the lua, subcutaneous tissue and subconjunctival tissue. The lifespan for about 4 to 17 years. شوف هذه الصورة. هاي الصورة lua in the subconjunctival tissue in the eye. The microfilariasis of the lua sheath with sheath and the arrangement of the nuclei to the tip of the tail. The appearance of the microfilariasis in the blood during the daytime from من 12 إلى 12 الظهر إلى 2 بعد الظهر, ولهذا نسميها diurnal periodicity اللي هي in the daytime. بينما الوتشيريريا bancrofti قلنا nocturnal periodicity. The life cycle of the lua need 2 hosts اللي هي definitive host هو human being, والintermediate host هو اللي day biting fly هو mingo flies. The infection is transmitted to the man through the biting by this insect. The infective stage هي third stage larvae. شو هذه الصورة؟ هذه اللوا in the eye, ونشوف اللايف سايكل of the لوا. مثل ما حكينا هي الهيومن ستيج والفلاينج ستيج. الستيج in the human being and the stage in the insect. The adult worm of the lua in the subcutaneous tissue and subconjunctival tissue The adult worm, gravid female, produce microfilariasis found in the spinal, CSF, in the urine, sputum, blood, and in the lung. This microfilariasis present in the blood if the biting by the insect will be sucking the microfilariasis with the blood meals. The microfilariasis will be penetrate the midgut of the insect and migrate to the thoracic muscles, and then developed in the first stage larvae and then to second and third stage larvae اللي هي الانفكتيف stage of the lualua. Third stage larvae of the microfilariasis migrate to the proboscis of the head of the insect. When the third stage larvae reach the proboscis of the head of the insect, this insect become infected to the human being. If biting another person, become infected by the lualua. وهكذا تستمر دورة الحياة مع الباراسايت. دورة الحياة, the lifespan inside the vector need 10 days, and in the human being to complete the life cycle which need from 6 to 10 months. نجي على pathogenesis and the clinical picture. The pathogenesis of the lualua depend on the migratory of the adult worm and the microfilariasis. This will lead to inflammation and swelling up to 3 centimeters in size seen in the limb. The clinical manifestation in the eye, patient presented with photophobia and blurring of the vision and lead to total blindness. Other complication may be occur like nephropathy, encephalopathy, and cardiomyopathy will be occur, but rare in the lualua. The laboratory diagnosis of the lualua depend on the detection of the microfilariasis in the blood or the isolation of the adult worm from the eye. The microfilariasis seen in the peripheral blood collected during the daytime. The adult worm can be detected or demonstrated by the removal from the skin or from the conjunctiva from the eye, or from subcutaneous biopsy specimen from the site of the swelling. High eosinophilia count is common in the lualua. The treatment of the lualua which need first by diethyl carbamazine from 8 to 10 milligram per kg per day for 20 days is effective against both adult and the microfilariasis form of the lualua. But severe reaction may develop follow the sudden death of the large number of the microfilariasis. This will lead to administration of the corticosteroid to minimize this reaction of the death of the large number of the microfilariasis. Sometimes need surgical removal of the adult worm in the eye infection by the lualua. The third filariasis قلنا lymphatic, subcutaneous, and the serous body cavity filariasis اللي هي منسوريلا اوزوردي اللي هي non-pathogenic parasite presented in the Central and South America and West India. The adult worm found in the peritoneal and the pleural cavity of the human being. This parasite, non-periodic in-sheath microfilariasis. The vector هو الكيوليكس. Infection does not cause any illness مثل ما قلنا هو non-pathogenic. Diagnosis by the demonstrated of the microfilariasis in the blood. The treatment by the ivermectin single dose 6 mg is effective in the treatment in the pericardium. النوع الثاني هو مونسينيلا بريستنس اللي هي أيضا non-pathogenic, presented or found in the tropical in the Africa and the South America. The adult worm found in the body cavity of the human being, mainly in the peritoneum and less rarely in the pericardium. The microfilariasis تكون in sheath and non-periodic. The vector هو الكيوليكس. The diagnosis by demonstration of the microfilariasis in the blood or serosal effusion. Doxycycline 200 mg twice daily for 6 weeks. النوع الأخير اللي هو Trunculus mediensis or common name Guinea worm. The worm was presented in the tropical Africa, Middle East, in Iraq, Iran, Pakistan, and in the India. About أكثر من 50 مليون persons, أكثر من 50 مليون إنسان affected by this parasite. The morphology of the Guinea worm. The adult female is from 60 إلى 120 سنتيمتر in length, cylindrical worm, smooth, white to milky in color. It has blunt anterior end and the tapering recurved tails, posterior end. The body of the gravid female uterus contain about أكثر من 3 مليون embryo. The male تكون smaller than the female. السايز مال الميل من 10 إلى 40 ملم in length. The lifespan of the Guinea worm من 6 إلى 12 months. The larva measurement من 500 إلى 750 مايكرون in length. وهاي الصورة بالجانب مال الجينيا وور male and female. The life cycle of the Guinea worm need to host. الديفينيتيف host هو المان. الانترميديت host هو السايكلوب, in which the embryo undergo develop changes in the cyclope. There is no animal reservoir. The infective stage هي الثird stage larva present in the cyclope. The habitat in the subcutaneous and cutaneous tissue. The mode of transmission, human get infection by drinking unfiltered water or water contaminated with contain the cyclope with third stage larvae. Incubation period about 1 year. نيجي على اللايف سايكل اوف ذا Guinea worm. مثل ما حكينا فيها الديفينيتيف هوست اللي هو الهيومن بينج, والانترميديت هوست اللي هو السايكلوب, نوع من القشريات. The adult worm in the subcutaneous tissue مثل ما موجود بالأعلى, and the gravid female produce the discharge the larva and the content with the water. The adult female produce larva in the water, first stage larvae, and first stage larvae molting in the water and ingested by the cyclope. The cyclope, the larvae in the cyclope penetrate the gut of the cyclope and enter the body cavity of the intermediate host اللي هو cyclope, and then inside the body cavity of the cyclope develop the larva into third stage larvae. Third stage larvae اللي هي مثل ما قلنا هي الانفكتيف stage of the guinea worm. If the human being ingested or drinking the water containing the cyclop with third stage larvae, the human being become infected with the guinea worm. The cyclop, if ingested by the human being in the stomach, the third stage larvae will become free and which penetrate the wall of the small intestine, and the larva reach the peritoneum and subcutaneous tissue and connective tissue and develop to mature adult worm. وتستمر دورة الحياة مع الجينيا worm. Pathogenesis and the clinical picture of the guinea worm هي mostly asymptomatic until the gravid female become under the skin and produce the embryo. The body fluid of the adult worm is toxic and lead to plaster formation on the feet between the metatarsal bone or the ankle joint with secondary bacterial infection. شوف هذا الصورة، هذا الصورة الادult worm under the skin of the feet. Sometimes the worm travel unusual site reach to pericardium, spinal cord or the eye with severe infection. نجي على laboratory diagnosis of the Trunculus mediensis or the guinea worm. Detection of the adult worm from the base of the ulcer or by detection of the larva under the microscope from the ulcer. X-ray, we can see the calcified worm can be seen in the X-ray. Skin test, very important, and serological test by ELISA or immunofluorescent test, and blood examination we can see eosinophilia. The treatment of the guinea worm, use antihistamine, steroid, help in the initial stage of the allergic reaction. Metronidazole, thiopentazole are useful in the treatment of the guinea worm. Surgical removal of the worm under the local or general anesthesia. عندنا الموضوع الأخير اللي هو zoonotic filariasis. Filaria naturally parasitic in the domestic and the wild animal, may rarely cause accidental infection in the human being. اللي هي أول وحدة Tyrofilaria immitis. The dog heartworm is the common parasite of the dog, widely distributed in the tropical and the subtropical area. Tyrofilaria reperens, the natural parasite of the dog. It may sometimes infect a human being, causing subcutaneous and subconjunctival nodule. Brugi behangi, the parasite of the dog and the cat in the Malaysia, may infect man and the causing lymphangitis and lymphadenitis.